Okay, today we're going to start chapter 7. And I mentioned yesterday that chapter 7 is has a lot of factoring in it. Good news, today we're not going to be factoring. Tomorrow we're not going to be factoring, maybe on Friday. But today we're not factoring. Today we are going to be solving proportions. So we're in 7.2 and it's titled Proportions. Okay, so kind of first thing, it'd be kind of nice to know what a proportion is. Your book is going to say a proportion is an equation that sets two ratios equal to each other. Okay, well, it's going to set two ratios equal to each other. Well, what is a ratio? What's a ratio? James? Numbers, okay. What's an example of a ratio? What does it sound like?
1 to 2.
1 to 2, right? 3 to 4. Really, it's just a fraction. A lot of times we write it with a colon, but you can still write it as a fraction. A ratio is just a fraction. So a proportion is an equation that sets two fractions equal to each other. So an example of a proportion, I could say 1/2 equals 2/4. That's a proportion. I set two fractions equal to each other, okay? Now today, I'm not going to give you 1/2 equals 2/4. One of those numbers is going to be missing, and we're going to have to find those numbers. Now there's a lot of methods to solving proportions. There's one that works for any kind of proportion out there, so we're just going to learn about that one. And that one is called using cross products. Hopefully sounds familiar, and I think probably most of you, if not all of you, have at least heard of cross products before. But what a cross product is, it tells me if I have a proportion such as A over B equals C over D. Okay, so just kind of a generic proportion. I have two fractions set equal to each other. The cross products tell me that I can multiply up and across. So if I take A times D, that is the same thing as taking B times C. I can set my cross products equal to each other, and now I have an equation that I can solve. So if you don't know one of these numbers here, you can use your cross products to write an equation and solve. Okay, so this is really all we're doing today, using cross products to solve a proportion. Okay? Anybody never, ever, ever used cross products before? Okay, good. Okay, just a few people, that's okay. Okay, number 1, we want to solve. So we're looking for my variables. So y over 3 equals 5/8. Okay, so my end goal, I want to know what y equals. So I have a proportion. I have two ratios set equal to each other. So I know by using cross products, I can set those cross products equal to each other. So if I multiply up and across, 3 times 5 gives me 15. And if I multiply up and across the other way, that should equal my other cross product, which is 8y. Okay, and then we want to solve for y. It's great that 15 equals 8y, but we really want to know what y equals, so how would you solve for y? Very good. Divide by 8. Okay, you do not have to change your answer into a mixed number. If you really, really, really want to, I guess you can, but you do not have to. Okay, you can leave it as an improper fraction. Okay? Number 2, 3 over 4y equals 5 over 7. Okay, same thing as before. I have a proportion. My two ratios are set equal to each other, so we can use cross products to write an equation. So if I take 4y times 5, I get 20y. And then if I take my other cross product, 7 times 3, that gives me 21. And to solve for y, we divide both sides by 20. So this time, y equals 21 over 20. Okay, making sense? Pretty easy, hopefully. Yes. Okay. Number 3. Whatever. Sorry, guys. Number 3, 15 over z equals 6. Okay, now this isn't really a proportion, right? Because I did not set two fractions equal to it, because 6 is not a fraction. But can I make it a fraction? Yeah. What can I do?
6
Very good. Let's just put it over 1. That way we see it as a fraction, and now we can see that I'm going to take my cross products. Okay? Z times 6 gives me 6z, and my other cross product, 1 times 15, just gives me 15. This time, whenever we divide both sides by 6, you do not have to change it to a mixed number, but is 15 over 6 simplified? What do 15 and 6 have in common? A 3. Don't have to change it into a mixed number, but you do need to simplify. If they have a common factor, you need to divide it out. So we should get 5 halves. Okay, questions? Okay, number 4. Okay, this one we have to take a little bit extra caution. The x minus 4 over 3 equals 2 over 15. Okay, this one. Notice that my numerator looks a little different. You do this the same way. You're still going to use your cross products. You just have to be kind of careful when you're doing that cross product. The first one's pretty simple. 3 times 2 just gives me 6. Now here's the deal. When I take my other cross product, when I multiply 15 up and across, I have to take 15 times that entire numerator. Not just times the x and not just times the 4. I have to take 15 times the entire thing. How can I show that I'm going to take 15 times that whole thing?
15 open parentheses, x minus 4, close parentheses.
Very good. We're going to use parentheses. Put the x minus 4 in parentheses, and that tells me that I need to distribute the 15, or I'm going to take the 15 times the whole thing. So when I distribute the 15, you have 6 equals 15x minus 60, and now we have a 2-step equation. What would I do? Very good. Add 60 to both sides. So 66 equals 15x. And divide both sides by 15. What do 66 and 15 have in common? A 3. So x equals 22 over 5. Okay, number 5. Okay, this time we have 3 equals 2 plus 4y over 6. Okay, think back to the one we did just a couple of examples ago. I don't have a fraction on both sides, but how would you easily make that left side a fraction? Just put it over 1, okay? And then using caution when multiplying up and across, 6 times 3 is 18. And then when I take 1 times 2 plus 4y, I know I'm supposed to take 1 times that entire quantity. But if you multiply anything in the entire world by 1, is it going to change anything in the entire world? No, it's just going to stay 2 plus 4y. Okay, and then a 2-step equation, so subtract 2 from both sides. So 16 equals 4y. Divide both sides by 4. So y equals 4. Okay, we'll do one more together. I'll have you try the last 2 on your own. Okay, number 6. 6b minus 5 over 3 equals 12b minus 10 over 6. Okay, I have my proportion ready to go. I have my equation of 2 ratios. So we're going to multiply up and across. Being really careful both times this time because I have to put this in parentheses and I need to put this in parentheses. So I'm going to take 3 times the quantity 12b minus 10. And then my other cross product, once again using parentheses, I'm going to take 6 times the quantity 6b minus 5. Okay, so I have 2 things that I have to distribute here. I have to distribute the 3, and I get 36b minus 30. And then I have to distribute the 6, and I get 36b minus 30. Maybe already thinking along the lines, you know where this is going. I have b's on both sides of my equal sign. How do I get them in one place? Good. Subtract 36b from both sides. What happens? Okay, all the b's cancel out, which is important, but what's even more important, what am I left with? Okay, negative 30 equals negative 30, which means what? All real numbers. Very good. Very good. Okay, questions so far? Okay, the last two I want you guys to try on your own. Okay, number 7, 4b plus 6 over 6 equals 4b plus 8 over 8. And then number 8, 8a minus 5 over 5a minus 4 equals 13 over 8. Okay, so a lot of people with the right answer. Some people on number 7, this one can be kind of tricky, because when I do my cross products here, and I take 8 times 4b plus 6, and set that equal to 6 times 4b plus 8, and then I go through and distribute, we get 32b plus 48, and then we get 24b plus 48. And I see a lot of people see, oh, 48 and 48, those cancel out, right? Because whenever I subtract 48 from both sides, the 48s cancel out, and I get whatever. Okay, can't maybe, right? But what do we do before we start moving other things around if I see I have variables on both sides? Okay, we get the variables in one place first, because then it kind of gets a little less confusing. So if I try to get my variables in one place first and subtract 24b from both sides, I now have 8b plus 48 equals 48, which is still the same equation, but now it's a two-step equation, and if I subtract 48 from both sides, I have 8b equals 0, which means b equals 0, okay? I saw a lot of people got really close to this. Some people did have this answer, so great job. Some people got stuck right here, which is understandable. Questions about number 7? No? Okay, and then for the last one, hopefully wasn't too bad, just some big numbers to multiply. When you multiply up and across, 8 times 8a minus 5 equals the other cross product, 5a minus 4 times 13. And when you distribute the 8, hopefully you get 64a minus 40. And distribute the 13, you get 65 minus 52, right? Hopefully, yes. Okay. And then, once again, I need to get all of my variables in one place, so subtract 64a from both sides. So I get negative 40 equals a minus 52. Add 52 to both sides, and a equals 12. Okay. Any questions over these two or any of the ones we've talked about today? No? All right. Your homework for today, 7.2, page 295, 1 through 36 all.